So again, this chapter is going to be a bit boring, but again, bear with me. Have a drink while you listen to me mencece sorang-sorang. But again, this topic is going to be asked. I've been teaching this subject for. This is considered the second time I'm teaching this, but the previous ODL based test subject ni adalah. So even though it's a bit boring, but it is quite important considering uh, you have to know on the differences between standards, because when you're talking about energy efficiency, you are EPO626. You're going to play around with a lot of standards. So this is quite important. And basically, we are going to introduce to you the local and international standards being used in the world, not to say in every country, but we are more focused on the main standards that are being applied. So if you go to US, most probably there are hundreds and thousands of standards that you need to know. But for these chapters, I think the few that have been mentioned here is applicable. Sorry, somebody raise the hand. Yeah. Shahira Zulkifli, do you have any questions? No.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Let me press it. Okay. So the objective here is to introduce local and international standards and labeling on energy efficient products and processes, and to share some of the best practices on energy efficiency. So basically, we are going to let you know what you're going to learn on this subchapter is standard and labeling, and also the best practices when you are talking about energy efficiency. So first we'll be looking into the background, and then we'll be looking into energy standards, and then labeling, and then we'll look into the best practices. Okay, so some background first. As a human being, we are a creature of comfort, meaning if you're able to buy something, even though the shop is quite far further away as compared to another shop that has most of the item that you'll be buying, you will always go to the one that is nearer to you instead of going to the further away shops, considering that item isn't very crucial. I mean, maybe you want to eat salad for today, but chances are that the further away store has tons of vegetable that you might want. But given that we are a human being, chances are we won't be going to that shop, that one that is further away. Chances are we'll be only going to the shop that is nearer to us. We are a creature of comfort and repetitions. Tak percaya? Try bangun pagi, buat something else, buat something one thing only for the whole week. Yang bangun pagi lah, for example, makan nasi lemak je for the whole week. Maybe boring, tapi the second week after that, try to ubah. Mesti rasa janggal, because we are a creature of comfort. And then in the modern society, it is a huge chunk of our comfort level involves around electrical appliances. For example, air condition, a refrigerator, and cars to get us around. For you guys students, most probably not cars lah. If you guys, if I'm not mistaken, motorcycles, or maybe for girls, bicycle. Cars in UITM, I believe UITM has enforced that students can't bring cars to their campus since 2010, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I myself was a student post-grad, and I had to park my car quite further away from the normal from the car park that I've used when I was doing my bachelor degree in UiTM Shah. So as in 2010, when I was doing my PhD, I had to park further away. So this is not because of this is not uh, just a recent thing lah. Memang UiTM, we tried not to congest so much. It's because when student has their own cars and their own bikes, when I was doing my bachelor degree, the whole area would be packed with students' cars, and by motorcycle. And what happened is lecturer can't get into their classroom, and therefore class would be lambat lah. So disebabkan itu, UiTM enforced that students should not. I mean, it is some convenience to you guys, but if lecturer came late to a lecture, or maybe has trouble finding parking to go into a lecture, the whole class will be postponed. Compared to students who are late, or maybe some inconveniences to the class, at least the class will still be going on, will be held. And just a matter of you guys arrange your timetable and whatnot. I know I've been there. I've been a student. I've also been a lecturer, and I would say the lesser evil is that what UiTM is doing, which is not allowing you guys to have your own transportation. But okay, cukup merepek. We are a creature of comfort. So basically, when we are talking about comfort, we are talking about energy usage lah, being used by the electrician, by electricity devices that we use to um, to bring comfort to us. Like for example, air condition, fridge, and also cars. So when we are talking about energy efficiency, we are trying to reduce this kind of because we can't live without air condition. Chances are, when you grow older, when we are in the 90s, only those who are well off would have air condition in their house. Even me, when I was a kid, I only have an air condition when I was what, 14, 15, something sekolah menengah lah. I'm not sure about you guys. I mean, some of you are still maybe come from B40s or something, so maybe never even had uh, experience and conditioned room. But coming to your time, I believe some of you might have already. But back in the 90s, only those who are well off can have an air condition in their house. Nowadays, almost all houses has air condition, at least in their master bedroom, in their parents' room. So I would say the adoption of air condition has become normalized, such that we don't think much about it. But in electricity bills, if you manage to efficiently use, or maybe use an appliance or air condition that is efficient, chances are your electricity bill will be it will be reflected on your electricity bill. Same goes with fridge, because fridge, nobody, when you buy a fridge, air refrigerator, chances are you will never turn it off. So if you buy something that is the fridge that is using energy efficiently, it will significantly impact your electricity bill. So, and of course cars lah. Yeah, I mean, if it's just you driving to the office, chances are you won't be buying something that is huge car, like for example a sedan with 2.0 cc, for example. So most probably you'll be buying a Myvi or 1.0 Axia to be more efficient with your wallet. Mm. So when we are talking about energy efficiency, first we look into those who had experience implementing energy efficiency. And the first country that we might want to look at is Japan. Now, Japan is quite interesting story, because as you know, I believe some of you might has done some digging on Japan at the very least, because of anime and whatnot. But if Japan is a country that has no sumber asli at all. There are no sumber asli at all in Japan. I mean, of course, if you tolak ikan apa fisherman, all the seafoods and whatnot, yeah, Japan tak ada any kind of sumber asli langsung. In fact, uh, minyak dengan gas pun Japan tak ada, tak pernah ada. If you've been to any kind of oil installation platform, there will be no Japanese, even though uh, they did produce some sort, or they did construct an oil platform, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, because if I'm not mistaken, I've seen Toyota heavy industry that involved with oil platform. But Even though they build an oil platform, they themselves don't have any oil. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because Japan is a very good example for our subject here, because whatever affected the oil pricing will affect them as a country. So as you can see here in the table, I hope everyone is can see clearly there. But if you can't, just look at your notes. But in starting from 1970, I'm not sure, first oil crisis, is it 1975? I've not been born yet at that time. I'm only born in the 80s. So I've only heard about second oil crisis in 91 because US is trying to invade, or no, Iraq is trying to invade Kuwait, and that was the second oil crisis back then. And the first oil crisis and second oil crisis uh, menyebabkan the huge consumption, or bukan huge consumption, huge effect to their industries in transportation sector, civil sector, and industrial sector. So bila oil crisis berlaku, minyak pun harga mahal lah. So bila harga mahal, effect lah. So as you can see here, the growth is almost not slow lah, but reduced. Not to say totally steep reduction, but you can see a trend line towards depreciation in energy dependency. Sebab dia ada masalah. Even if you go into the 80s, Japan, if you would know, if you study some economic history, Japan in the 80s, even though they are negara maju, but because of this oil crisis, dia orang banyaklah company tutup back then because of this. So because of due to the oil crisis, what happened was they started to see that, okay, depending on oil crisis, depending on oil for their country economic growth isn't very prudent. Maksudnya they want to unattach lah dengan oil punya dependency in terms of economic growth. So what they did was they start to look into using energy efficiently. So they started all the renewable energy program, 5S. Kalau siapa yang pernah masuk kilang ataupun ada parents yang kerja kilang adalah tahulah 5S apa semua tu. So they start to use their energy efficiently because again they don't have any surplus oil. They don't even have oil in their country. So in order for them to survive, they macam biasalah manusia, and especially pula to Japanese, when they are under pressure, they don't simply give up. They put their hard hat on, and then they conduct an energy efficiency throughout the country. And as a result, as you can see there, energy consumption increased in the mid 1980s. Sorry, mana? Ini ditunjuk ni. So as a result of, tapi sorry, ni Japan yang ni no, this one. Okay, so as a result of that, even though energy efficiency diorang, kalau tengok energy consumption diorang increasing 24.9, 29.2, 45.9, but they are able to almost sama rata lah in terms of industrial sector ni. Memang dia tahu dah tak boleh harap kat minyak. So what they did was diorang kurangkan dependency on oil, and they implement renewable energy efficiency and whatnot. So almost stagnant lah, even though ada banyak berlaku Gulf War, second oil crisis, first oil crisis. The first decade dia, waktu 70s and 80s saja yang nampak penurunan. But as they goes into 2000, 90s, 2000, dia nampak stagnant lah. Kecuali transportation sector ni. Sebab by then, masih belum ada electric car, masih belum ada, tak silap saya, yang Shinkansen, yang kereta api bullet tu, yang pakai magnet tu, was in the 90s lah. So transportation tu pun siapa sangat pun yang pakai Shinkansen tu nak pergi kerja hari-hari. Dia orang still pakai train biasa. Of course not coal train lah. But still, transportation sector tak boleh nak lari lagi. So nampak dia demand makin naik. Civil sector pun naik. Tapi what I'm trying to look at here is the stagnation in the industrial sector dependency on oil. So nampak almost lah. Ada drop a bit, but almost straight line except kalau compared to 1978 to 1982. Okay, data ni nampak macam pening, tak apa. Just nak cerita, Japan, because of they implement energy efficiency, they manage to control their industry. Even though dia waktu 90s ni, Japan is superpower lah, maksudnya in terms of economic growth. Time ni lah yang for those yang born in 90s ni dapat rasa main PlayStation, Sony Walkman, manufacturing punya tu. There are superpowers back then in the 90s compared to now lah. Nowadays, still superpower, but China dah beat orang lah. But even though they are superpower, their energy dependency on oil has almost stagnant. So because of yang struggling ni transport dengan civil sector ni, sebab ni lah still tak ada electric cars, and civil sector pun masih lagi waktu 2000 tu belum tahu apa dia panggil green building whatnot, belum ada lagi. But industrial sector success, even though their growth is sangat-sangat tinggi lah. Okay, tak payah tengok detail sangat, but cerita tu dah paling penting. So is the way of a modern, this is a question that slide ni nak bagi tanya awak. Awak rasa zaman awak nanti sama ke dengan zaman sekarang? Saya dah start bahasa Melayu balik dah. Okay, back. Do you think your kids in the future, if for those yang ada rasa nak anak lah, I mean zaman sekarang ni kan, especially for those yang dah modern, they would think that I'm not blaming, tapi it is a fact of the world that there are some of us who even my generation pun dah start think that a kid is a burden, anak is a burden. Islam kata anak itu rahmat, tapi in our modern day society yang mana boleh hilang kerja time COVID ni, and then salary pun rendah kalau dapat kerja pun, and then not everyone has the opportunities yang dapat kerja dengan company Fortune 500 tu. So bringing kids to daily life is quite a privilege yang tak ramai yang sanggup lah nowadays. So that said, even lah kalau katalah korang ada anak one day, do you think that your kid will experience, for those yang rasa hidup dia sempurna sekarang ni, yang rasa boleh lepak malam naik motor, yang perempuan yang boleh shopping, yang boleh jalan-jalan kat mall, yang still boleh beli handphone mahal-mahal, do you think you can sustain that? I mean your kid can also, you can also buy that for your kids. Is it sustainable? Considering, okay, I'm not sure if everyone is well aware of world punya isu sekarang ni. Bukan isu lah, I mean nowadays yang baru 2-3 hari ni orang duk sebut, which is Malaysia dah start jadi aging, dah start ada what you call that, kekurangan anak. Maksudnya kita punya warga tua dalam masa berapa tahun lagi, tak sampai 10 tahun pun tak silap, we will be an aging population punya country. Maksudnya pekerja yang muda compared to pekerja yang tua, sekarang pekerja tua dah ramai compared to pekerja muda. Even though kita belum developed nation, selalu this issue will only be heard for country yang dah maju tau. Considering bila dah maju, rakyat dia kerja gila-gila, earn money banyak-banyak, baru nak beranak. But kita kerja gila-gila, tak banyak pun dapat duit. Tapi yelah, macam tu je lah kita punya lifestyle. Tapi kerja gila-gila. So, I'm not saying jangan jadi malas, but what I'm saying is, this is the fact. Okay, why this is important is because one day, kalau zaman saya ni pun, mak bapak kena tolong, boomers nak kena tolong saya to survive. I mean, I'm not saying this as proudly, tapi saya sendiri boleh stand alone lah. Sebab Alhamdulillah saya dapat saya punya scholarship. But there are a few friends of mine, mak bapak dia terpaksa tolong. In fact, those yang ada abang, kak, boleh rasanya ada kot dengar-dengar maybe mak bapak tolong belanja ni sikit, belanja tu sikit. Sebab zaman sekarang kan kerja dah ni, ada yang hilang kerja semua. Especially yang hilang kerja lah, memang dia boleh dengar lah mak bapak kan tolong-tolong sikit. Imagine zaman awak. Nanti kita senang nak salahkan orang tua, nak minta tolong orang tua kita, tapi At one point, you will also become the orang tua. Yang for those yang suka pandang rendah orang tua, you will also become the orang tua. Yang suka mengharapkan orang tua, you will also become the orang tua yang akan diharapkan nanti. So will you be able to sustain your future kids or future families punya dependency? Ini isu yang paling ketara. Why? Sebab it will affect your economic growth in the future down the road. Okay, tapi saya nak bukan doom and gloom, tapi it is an important issue. So the question this slide asks you, is the way of life in modern society sustainable? Maksudnya, nak buka aircon, kena bayar bill. I mean gaji, senang cerita kita tengok gaji lah. If you got your first salary, I'm not sure for business punya school, when you graduate, how much is the first salary? For engineers, I know for a fact that typically it will be around 2005, 1005 to 2005 depending on how big or small the company. Tapi kalau Petronas memang dia bagi gaji besar lah, which is 3005. Tapi typically and in all across the engineering punya ni mostly is purata is 2005 lah. Okay. So 2005, okay, ingat kita is a creature of comfort. Nak pergi kerja, tak nak kalau hujan, tak nak reda hujan, nak naik kereta. Okay, kereta, installment, if paling busuk pun, Beza, Azia, which is, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong again, saya bukan tahu semua. If I'm not mistaken, Beza, Azia installment is around 4 to 500. Kita assume 500 lah to be safe. Kita tolak maintenance, kita tengok kereta saja. Okay, tadi gaji basic 2,500 Okay, 2,500, 500 dah hilang dah untuk kereta. Untuk installment saja. Minyak, if you live further away from your office, chances are you will incur much lah. Tapi living further away, your sewa, kalau duduk dengan parents, alhamdulillah tak payah. Tapi kalau for those yang menyewa, itu dah a significant chunk juga of your salary punya expenses. Okay, kita ambil lah sewa. Korang apa nak jadi betul-betul dependent kan. Hopefully lah So let's say lah korang sewa bilik. Let's say what 400 kalau KL. Kalau Terengganu ni memang ada tapi murah, tapi korang nak kerja apa kat Terengganu sangat kan. I mean bukan nak putting down Terengganu, but realitinya Terengganu, if you work here, chances are industri tak banyak. Most probably oil and gas lah. Tapi yelah, kalau tak dapat oil and gas, kilang pun tak ada banyak kat sini. So most probably kita assume kerja KL lah. So sewa maybe 400. Kalau dapat ni betul lah, kalau tengah KL dapat 400. Tapi kita assume boleh lah dapat 400. So dah 900 dah dari situ. So 2,500 tolak 900 ada dalam 1,007, 1,006. Okay, and then minyak tol makan. Minyak tol makan kita assume lah sebulan, I would say realistically 1,000 minyak tol makan. Considering makan mestilah sebulan sekali, seminggu sekali tu nak makan McD semua kan. So 1,000. Ni safe lah, saya rasa 1,000 ni dah sedap lah ni. So now tinggal 900. Let's say lah korang nak jadi betul-betul creature of comfort, nak ada aircon dalam bilik. Ingat aircon bila pasang sebulan at least at the minimum, kalau pakai time malam saja on time malam saja, I would think your electricity bill around 100 or 200. Kita safely assume 100 lah Jadi memang superb lah kalau dapat 100 ni dengan aircon. So and then nak bagi mak bapak, parents kena bagi. Trust me, parents kena bagi. There's something about berkat rezeki tu. So kita assume lah tak mula-mula kerja, tak payahlah bagi banyak, bagilah dalam 100 ke 200 ke. So 900 tolak 100, 800 tolak 200 dah bagi 600. So 600 tinggal. Now, nak kahwin, nak simpan duit, nak belanja jalan-jalan, makan-makan dengan kawan-kawan, dengan tengok movie apa semua, cukup ke 600? Personally, I have been there, tak cukup. Now imagine, when I was working at that salary, that was 2008, 2009, 2,500 tu. Itu pun saya rasa dah tak cukup. Back then minyak time tu boleh kata lebih kurang sekarang. Tapi minyak time tu lagi mahal lah daripada sekarang. Do you see in 10 years time, that 2005 akan naik? I doubt so. In fact, history has shown now 2021, back then was 2000, kita assume 2010 nak senang kira, 11 tahun. Still 2,500 lagi salary for fresh grad. So that's it. Nowadays, Alhamdulillah, sebab COVID tak nampak sangat dia punya tu sebab korang work from home kan. I'm not sure moving forward as a apa kata worker, whether we will still have that work from home environment yet. But during COVID ni sure. But after COVID katalah semua orang dah vaksin and everyone dah back to normal, dah kira COVID ni dah macam demam biasa je. Okay, fine. Boleh start masuk kerja semua. I wonder, do you see in 10 years time, 2005 fresh grad salary itu akan naik? I doubt so. Tapi harga barang akan naik. Harga barang maintain naik. What you can buy in what I can buy in 1990s will not be the same as what I can buy in 2010. And 2010, what I can buy in 2010, I won't be able to buy it today. Of course, minyak masih lagi sama lah. Sebab minyak dah jatuh sebab COVID tu hari, Alhamdulillah. Tapi still, the things that you can buy because of inflation of 10 years time will always be increasing. Macam graf ni, nampak? Harga petrol, saya ingat lagi waktu saya sekolah menengah, after saya SPM, saya dah masuk diploma, time tu saya diploma, saya ada motor Chris. Saya isi RM2 full tank. RM2 full tank. Sekarang ni RM10, I doubt so dapat full tank. Saya tak sure, saya dah lama tak naik motor Chris, saya nak motor lain lah pula Tapi if I'm not mistaken, maybe lah aku dapat RM10. Betulkan saya kalau salah, for those yang naik motor, saya tak ada lama tak naik motor. Tapi back then saya isi RM2 full tank, melimpah tank motor saya tu. Nowadays, ni RM2.7 ni in 2008. 2008 was because time tu ada economic crisis. Apa nama Pak Allah pula. Time tu kita punya Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi. Saya rasa dia, bagi saya lah, dia terlalu tergesa-gesa naik harga minyak menyebabkan harga minyak naik RM2.7. So affected lah semua orang. So compared to nowadays, tak silap dah turun sikit, tapi kita around the same price lah nowadays, even though dah ni 2008, now is almost what 9-10 years, sebab dia turun naik Dia bukannya stagnant straight kan tu, dia turun naik macam chart saham tu, depending on ni lah, sebab dah lama tak ada perang. So itulah and then ada this technology dipanggil fraction digging, so minyak terjadi murah balik. Back then 2000 waktu RM2.7 ni, dia ingat tak silap saya ada isu, okay, of course economic downturn sebab US punya property bust tu. At the same time juga time tu minyak diorang predict dah nak habis. Tapi rupa-rupanya sebenarnya ada satu lagi teknik dipanggil fractioning. So alhamdulillah dah stable lah dekat around RM2.7 ni. So apa benda SMB bila panjang-panjang ni? Basically if we continue consuming the way we are consuming nowadays, even though kita tolak COVID ni, kalau even though ada COVID pun, I don't think bill even di COVID ni kita boleh nampak affected kat kita in terms of our monthly bill. Aircon buka, kipas buka, TV buka, laptop buka, komputer buka. Laptop tu bagi saya is a very energy efficient machine lah. You can do the same thing you can do on your desktop with a little with the amount of energy yang sangat kurang. So tapi tak semua orang nak pakai laptop lah, sebab for gamers lah kot, yang for those yang suka screen besar pun sukalah yang desktop. Tapi laptop ni bagi saya is a good thing kalau korang boleh adopt lah. So but basically what the question is trying to ask, if we continue consuming the things that we have consumed as today, we will not be able to sustain our expenses. Sekarang ni minyak murah, tapi after COVID ni dah start naik balik sikit. I'm not sure to when, tapi dah start recover balik dah kot. But dengan perang lagi, dengan the nature of minyak tu sebenarnya is not unlimited. Ada masa juga habis. Even though dia pakai fractioning pun ada masa juga habis. So itu yang question yang dia nak highlight kat sini, is that we will not be able to sustain lah. Considering manusia makin lama, population makin ramai. if you look at if you want to look at an example, look at a picture of KL dekat ada kan dia orang pernah kat Facebook ada orang pernah share atau tak payah KL lah, New York City lah. New York City senang sangat nak cari kan. 1800 pun dia dah tunjuk dah macam mana betapa banyaknya kawasan kosong and then pelan-pelan penuh dengan bangunan. So the same things goes with us. Population manusia makin banyak, rumah makin lama makin terpaksa kecil sebab tanah makin lama makin dah dipakai. So makin lama kita akan going vertical. So sebab tu kat Hong Kong tu kalau tengok penuh vertical punya bangunan sebab population increase. So in that sense, bila manusia ramai, lagi banyaklah energy kita nak pakai. And that will not be sustainable in the long run. So it is advisable, of course, kalau kita dengar apa black and white punya person, they will advise how to handle a society is to either apa dia punya keyword is to change in the way we consume energy. So either we live with dalam atas pokok sebab nak totally save electricity bill, duduk dalam gua. Ada kan yang baru ni COVID ni, orang dah start duduk dalam gua lah, atas pokok lah. Tak silap saya kat China ke mana, yang ke US saya tak sure, saya tak ingat. Dia duduk dalam gua. So saya tak rasa awak nak duduk dalam gua. So either that or we start to adopt changes in our energy consumption. So kat sini kena korang kena be aware sikit. Sebab ni antara soalan-soalan yang masuk test 1. Apa itu energy conservation and what is energy efficiency? So the definition in terms of words is that energy conservation is the reduction in the amount of energy being consumed of a process or a system or by an organization or society through economy, elimination of waste and rational issues. Okay, rational use. Ni conservation. Energy efficient pula, dia ada beza in terms of technical, organization and management, the same thing. Made to an energy service in which the energy use is reduced. So yang ini reduction in the amount of energy consumed of a process. Ini energy use is being reduced. So nampak macam tak ada beza kan? Tapi yang definition ni bukan saya yang bagi. Saya pun bagi saya memeningkan je tapi tak apa. Just kalau soalan tanya, tulis je balik. But the definition yang saya suka pakai macam ni. Yang the previous slide nanti dulu. So apa beza? What is the difference between energy conservation and energy efficiency? Energy conservation means you won't be able to experience the same comfort level. Meaning you have to, kalau lampu, kalau awak nampak semua, kalau energy conservation, you have to switch off. Kalau energy efficiency, instead of you pakai, kalau mampu lah banyak duit kan, instead of pakai Mustang, you pakai Tesla. That's the difference of ni. Even though I wouldn't say Tesla, maksudnya Tesla tu maksudnya you totally change the energy dependency, but it's still considered as efficiency because electricity kan, whereby electricity ni kita boleh generate apa ya, orang kata indefinitely sebab ada angin, ada air, ada macam-macam lah, bateri yang boleh charge, whereby energy based on oil, kereta, diesel, petrol apa semua tu memang based on minyak yang limited punya amount lah. So beza conservation and energy efficiency nak senang faham is that kalau energy conservation you wouldn't be able to experience the same comfort level, whereby energy efficiency you will be able to get point A to point B in relative comfort level, but just use something that is appropriate for that particular use. Maksudnya kalau awak seorang je yang naik kereta tu, tak payahlah kereta besar, pakai je lah Beza ataupun Azia. Tak perlulah kereta sedan ataupun Alphard nak pergi point A, point B kalau awak seorang kan. Minyak pun mahal. So tu bagi saya konsep yang paling utama sekali. And then cogeneration and efficient appliance ni, this is basically energy efficiency lah. Cogeneration ni maksudnya dia tak depending on one input source saja energy. Maksudnya dia boleh datang daripada maksudnya macam ni, air masuk, dipanaskan, dia keluar, dia pusing turbin, and udara panas tu digunakan pula untuk generate power juga daripada air yang panas tadi tu menggunakan warp steam semua tu lah. So dia pakai cogenerate instead of just one generator, dia pakai 2 generator, menghasilkan electricity yang lagi banyak daripada kalau just pakai satu, and then membazirkan air panas tu keluar. So, itu energy efficiency. And efficient appliance, macam contoh ini, solar LED lampu jalan lah. Maksudnya time siang, lampu tak buka, dia kumpul bateri daripada matahari. Bila malam dah start gelap, dia buka, then dia pakailah bateri yang dia dah charge tadi tu. So, efficient appliances. Nampak? You still be able, waktu malam ni, you still be able to use lampu tu, cuma waktu siang tu, charge lah dengan solar. So, itu beza energy efficiency. That's why this subject is more on energy efficiency, not energy conservation. Energy conservation ni, if saya tak tahu korang dah ada kewarasan ke belum time tu, tapi it was a big thing back in 1990s. Siapa tanya soalan ke? Ada ding tadi? Tak ada, sorry. Saya membebel seorang-seorang, saya try to be aware lah juga. So, back in 1990s, memang semua orang kata focus on energy conservation. Tutup lampu, tutup kipas kalau tak ada orang dalam rumah. Kalau aircon tu tak payah buka. Tapi energy efficiency, kita start pakai since 2010 dah start lah energy efficiency. Maksudnya, you heard about yang aircon tu. Energy inverter, aircon, solar panel, street lamp, and all the ni bagian electricity lah, maybe yang for the business maybe tak perasan sangat, but I think at the very least pernah dengar lah apa iklan-iklan dekat YouTube ke kat mana ke pasal energy efficiency. So, okay, then kita back pada slide yang awal tadi, which is energy efficient appliances. Okay, to achieve energy efficiency, industrial movement dah start employ efficient appliances lah. So efficient appliances ni compared to conventional appliances, ni I think this is not a good example, but yang lampu-lampu macam ni lah, ni maksudnya appliances yang efficient, lampu what you call it, LED, lampu LED ke apa tu, saya tak ingat apa nama dia. Otak saya meraban, so saya sebenarnya tahu, tapi bila otak meraban tu lupalah apa nama dia. Tapi something LED, bukan LED, apa nama dia, tak ingat. Tapi tak apalah, tapi yang rupa dia, lampu dia macam ni lah. Kalau dulu kan, for those yang maybe lahir tahun 1995 and below, for those yang tahu kalau betul. Kalau dah yang 2000 tu, saya tak boleh nak tolong sebab rasanya korang pun umur dah most probably lahir 2000 kot. Yang balik kampung lah, for those yang balik kampung, kampung dia betul-betul kampung. I'm not saying kampung baru, kampung dekat kampung, which is dekat mana-mana curug-curug kampung Melayu lama boleh nampak yang pendant floor lampu panjang tu, itu kita panggil lampu pendant floor. Sebelum tu lagi zaman saya, lampu Kalimantan dipanggil, yang pakai kerosin tu. Zaman korang tak pernah tengok, tak apalah. Tapi lampu pendant floor tu itself, it consume much more power dari lampu yang kecil ni, bulb ni. Tapi in terms of illumination, lampu kecil ni lagi besar terang rumah tu compared to lampu pendant floor yang panjang tu. Rasanya kalau siapa yang pergi Karah tu boleh nampak kot lampu pendant floor. Lampu pendant floor tu panjang-panjang macam lightsaber Jedi Star Wars tu, panjang-panjang macam tu. Dia consume banyak lagi, tapi kurang cahaya terang ni, lumen, kita panggil lumen, compared to dengan bulb kecil. Tu dipanggil one of the example of energy efficient appliances lah. Okay, dan kita tengok lagi. Okay, energy efficient appliances or any kind of equipment yang kita panggil energy efficient, typically kalau dia ada dua, satu consumer products, satu lagi industrial machinery. Kalau consumer products, for example here, it shows television where it will consume less than 1 watt of power. Tak faham tak apa, just bear with me, sebab watt ni unit-unit untuk electrician. 1 watt of power on standby mode basically, and also it consume more, will be able to allow us to save energy on more than 40%. So basically what it says here is that energy efficient kalau consumer product is something yang consume power kurang lah daripada yang typical zaman-zaman dulu punya television. Whereby industrial machinery pula kita categorizekan something yang, contoh kat sini transformer, energy efficient transformer is something that improve the properties of tak payah fikir. Tapi basically will be able to allow us to have a 50% reduction in electrical transmission and distribution losses. Apa benda losses ni? Kalau korang nak tahu, korang boleh imagine macam lampu bilik lah. Lampu bilik, bila korang berada dalam area yang di cover, korang nampak terang. Tapi as you go further away from that light source, you will start to see makin lama makin dim sampai satu masa tu gelap terus. The same goes with electric transmission. Maksudnya daripada pencawang TNB untuk sampai ke rumah awak sebenarnya jauh. Boleh makan beratus kilometer juga depending on location of generation lah. Especially kalau Sabah Sarawak lagi lah. Memang jauh betul dia punya transmission. So typically kalau cakap pasal 1 meter 2 meter memang tak nampak lah losses. But when we are talking about few even puluh-puluh kilometer pun there are losses dalam elektrik. Maksudnya TNB let's say lah dia supply 1000 tak payah pakai power, 1000 power. Power tu kita orang panggil ada kilowatt hour semua, tapi tak happening. Power, kita cakap power je dulu. Let's say dia supply 1000 power. Kalau rumah awak dalam maybe 20 or 30 kilometers away, if tak ada repetition, TNB tak buat something, 1000 power tu sampai ke awak, most probably will only be 20 or 10 power saja. Because losses berlaku di tengah-tengah jalan tu. Of course, nowadays, TNB ada pakai sebab tu awak nampak yang tiang-tiang pencawang apa semua tu, dia ada bola-bola kat line-line dia tu. Itu untuk mengurangkan loss lah tu. Tu one of the thing yang I can't show it. I don't have the picture here, but kalau next time korang lalu tepi highway ataupun if rumah korang ada yang pencawang tiang besi besar tu, tengok dekat wayar tu ada macam bola-bola tu. Tu saya tak tahu apa nama dia panggil, tapi that the function is for ni lah, to reducekan loss tu. Saya tak tahu bukan sebab saya bukan bidang electrical, saya lebih kepada instrument, but the particular usage of it I know lah. Okay, and then energy efficient building. Tadi kita dah cakap pasal appliances. Now we look into energy efficient buildings. Saya again a creature of comfort, human being. Saya dah niat dah awal sem nak cakap English. Now saya dah cakap Melayu banyak. Okay, now I'll be reminding myself to go back to English. Again, bukan sebab saya nak kata saya bagus, tak. Nak practice Okay, so energy efficient buildings. There's one thing we call a building will be called an energy efficient when it typically consumes 40% less it uses 40% of its energy coming from renewable source. Conventional building typically consume 40%. Sorry, saya salah baca. Bangunan yang a green building is something yang be able to reduce at least minimum 40% of its energy consumption. And for those who are interested, you can try to go to Bangi. There's one thing, there's a building at section 9, if I'm not mistaken, Green Tech building. If you go there, there will not be a single lamp, a single lampu, a single lamp inside its building. There's no aircon, there's no kipas ada kot, tapi tak on. Everything tak on. Semua gelap. Tak ada gelap. Actually, dia pandai yang main. So, if you go there, there will not be a switch for you to turn on because it has been designed. Of course, time malam adalah lampu, tapi adalah switch untuk turn off dia punya renewable solar punya tu, switch tu. Tapi, tengok cakap Melayu lagi. But basically, if you go there in the morning, in the daytime, chances are everything is properly light up. I mean, it's a bit dark, but it's sufficient enough such that for those yang maybe want to pursue energy management certification, you'll be able to sit there for your exam. So the illumination, there's no light, but you'll still be able to take an exam there. Meaning, I mean, kalau nak jawab soalan exam, you have to be able to see the question and whatnot, right? So if not, it is on the wrong side lah of the pembuat soalan lah. Kalau dia bagi gelap-gelap, macam mana orang jawab soalan kan? But for this building, there's no light, there's no lamp, but everything is cool. They uses this natural lighting concept and also natural cooling concept. Meaning, their building allows air to come in naturally, being recycled naturally, and lights to be reflected such a way that it can illuminate the whole room. I mean, there is a calculation, there is a math there, but and design there. But if you go there, you'll notice there's no lamp, there's no icon, but everything is comfortable. Meaning you can answer your test there with uh, relative comfort, and also you won't be profusely sweating there. I mean, the temperature is almost macam kebun lah, sejuk. Tak adalah sejuk sangat. Tengah hari, petang atau tengah hari punya level lah. Tapi cakap kebun. Siapa yang ada pernah rasa duduk kebun, macam tu lah, sejuk, tenang je. There will not be any sound because there's no boiler, there's no, kalau aircon kan ada dipanggil apa, generator tu, dia tak ada. So senyap, tenang, relax je. But of course, you won't be able to simply go in there lah. But that is what we call as energy efficient buildings. We have that in Malaysia. I think there are at least 2 or 3 more here, but I'm not exactly able to pinpoint you where that is. But that Green Tech building in Section 9 Bangi is one of a good example because it uses zero energy consumed. Okay. Sorry. I'm supposed to have a meeting, but I forgot. Okay, and then energy efficient process. Basically, this is an example where conventional steel, after it uses energy efficient boiler and whatnot, it is able to save more than 50% of energy being used. Steel making industry is a huge indicator, a huge benefit kalau dia dapat adopt energy efficient process because untuk bentuk besi tu they have to have almost 24 hours. They have to use boiler tu, or what you call that, the smelting, the iron smelting punya machine tu has to jalan 24 hours. Sebab kalau dia stop, sejuk lah. Bila sejuk nak panaskan balik lagi banyak makan energy. Sebab tu kalau tengok ni, when we are talking about energy, we are actually measuring in joule tau. If electricity, it's watt, kilowatt. Tapi kalau energy in general, oil ke apa ke, typically in joule. Even watt pun sebenarnya in joule, tapi dah di convert kan. Tapi joule kalau manusia kita pakai around puluh-puluh lah nak bakar lemak kita semua tu sebab orang kira dalam joule lah. So kalau berlari berapa joule kan. Ini sebabkan dia besi, nak meltkan besi, gigajoule. This is every ton, but you imagine kalau setahun tu dia beribu tan, so berapa gigajoule. So they are the most the industry that has the most benefit lah kalau dia implement energy efficiency. Okay, so nothing much, just to show that steel making industries has, as indicated by pinch analysis, because of using energy efficiently, they are able to reduce 50% of their energy consumed by implementing energy efficiency practices. Okay, and then we look into energy standards. Okay, yang tadi tu just introduction je, saya ambil panjang pun, it's just for me, is for you to understand between energy conservation and energy efficiency. Energy conservation maksudnya tak pakai langsung, kena tutup terus, you totally panas, berpeluh dalam bilik. By energy efficiency, you will still be relatively cool, tapi to a minimum level lah dia punya energy consumption. So for me, I prefer energy efficiency instead of energy conservation because we are human beings. We need some sort of level of comfort to operate at our optimal level. Okay, then what is standards? We look into energy standard untuk make sure everything, any kind of energy efficiency, energy saving, energy energy efficiency process lah being able to be achieved. You have to know the standards because kita nak beli something, kita mestilah nak tahu dia adhere to standard mana, ataupun whether or not barang tu standard ke tak standard. Senang cerita lah, bahasa pasar kita. So basically, standards is just a document, a piece of paper, maybe tebal. Typically will be tebal lah. If you go to ISO office ke mana-mana ke, ataupun download ISO punya dokumen tu memang tebal lah. That contains technical specification or other precise criteria designed to be used consistently to improve our quality of life and our quality of work. So standard ni doesn't mean apply only on the machine. It is also applied on also to human being. Sebab it is not only how it is being manufactured. Imagine aircon lah. This is not only about how or where it is being manufactured, but also the proper way to use it. So that is standards. So basically, systematic approach where we compile everything. Okay, and then there are two things. It can be classified as management standard and testing standards. So management ni lebih kepada human being lah. How human should be able to operate the thing and how it should be managed, maintained for a period of time. And testing pula is more on test the machine itself. For example, awak ada beli aircon, macam mana nak make sure aircon berjalan betul. So, testing lah power masuk apa semua. Tapi ini lebih kepada electrical talks. Tapi tak apa. Okay, so energy management standard provides a method for integrating energy efficiency into existing industrial management systems. So, macam ni cakap, bila cakap pasal management standards, we are not talking about the machine itself. We are talking about human capital, which is the management system. And testing standards provide detail. Okay, so saya punya otak dah kat tempat meeting tadi yang sepatutnya saya handle lah. Sorry Saya dah, sebab ada masuk meeting, message dari pasal meeting tu, saya terlupa nak buat. Now, otak dah tempat lain. Okay, tapi bear with me. So, testing standards provide detailed instruction for the execution of tests. So, basically, nak verify equipment tu satisfy specific requirement. So, faham betul saya cakap tadi, saya tak tipu awak. Energy management standard lebih kepada management system, whereby testing standard lebih kepada the equipment itself or the appliance. So some testing standards are voluntary, for example electrical motors, while some are mandatory, macam fan irons. But electrical motors ni voluntary because kita nak bagi tahu klien kita, okay, motor ni sesuai untuk application ni. Kita tak boleh typically, macam contoh awak nak beli saman awak tak ada Tamiya lah. Saya nak cakap apa? Drone. For example, drone. For those yang pernah main drone, or for those yang ada pernah terbuka cerita sikit lah pasal drone, or knows how drone works. Drone kan dia ada 4 motor kat tepi, dia punya badan tu, yang untuk dia lift up atau lift up atas ke bawah ke kiri kanan ke. So that motor you can actually upgrade it. For those yang beli yang drone murah-murah tu, actually korang boleh upgrade the small motor tu kepada motor yang lebih high efficient, lagi power ke, lagi apa ke. So because of that, untuk electrical motors tu, seller has to be specific on the specification sheet so that user tahu, okay, they are not buying the wrong things. So that is what is an example of voluntary testing standards. Whereby yang mandatory standards macam fan irons ni, sebab sirim. Kita nak make sure bila kita beli barang electronics, benda tu tahan lama, tak ada issue safety, and also can reliable lah, basically can do as what it's being advertised as. So it is statutory by SIRIM to enforce any electrical equipment to be passed through them first to get their certification before the company can sell that equipment to the masses lah. Macam kita nak beli kipas, beli 100 lebih, balik rumah, pakai sekali, rosak. Lepas tu tengok-tengok tak ada standard SIRIM ke apa ke. Memanglah kita boleh saman company tu balik. For those yang smart buyer, typically will first look at SIRIM punya batch, especially bila bercakap pasal power. Siapa yang beli adapter ataupun power cable untuk dia orang punya komputer tu, sepatutnya the first thing that you should look at is the standard, the sirim chop. Of course, sorry. Of course, they can tipu, dia boleh tiru apa semua. Tapi again, awak boleh saman kedai yang jual barang tipu. Kalau siapa yang tiru sirim standard tu. Okay, sebab ada enforcement. It is mandatory. Yang voluntary lebih kepada sebab to make sure that you are not buying the wrong things. You're buying the correct motor, nak make sure drone awak laju. Whereby yang mandatory standards lebih kepada sirim lah. Nak make sure safety pengguna lah. Safety dan kepuasan pengguna. So in Malaysia, standard is being regulated and administered by Department of Standards. Saya sendiri tak pernah pergi, but supposedly ada kat Putrajaya lah. Everything kind of government bodies sepatutnya ada kat Putrajaya. And Malaysian standards only applicable and being developed in Malaysia only. So awak tak boleh expect pergi keluar sijil sirim tu awak akan jumpa, maksudnya kalau awak jadi student overseas ke one day hopefully, ataupun awak ada peluang pergi overseas, jangan pula awak expect nak beli kipas, awak nak cari sirim stickers, memang tak jumpa lah sebab diorang ada diorang own standards. Europe ada standards dia, US ada standards dia, Japan ada standards dia. Yang tak ada standard most probably African country lah, sebab yang ceruk-ceruk mana, I'm not talking about yang dah kaya tu, yang Saharan Desert punya tu most probably tak ada lah kot standard ni, sebab lah orang tak ni. Maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't expect any African standard lah because I tak pernah tengok barang-barang diorang. So it implements international standardization activities. Maksudnya bukan Malaysia ni buat kerja seronok-seronok je bagi chop standard, tak. Of course everything is being any international standard pun dah di-observe, and because kita Commonwealth punya country, so most probably kita tengok UK punya lah. And everything is under Sirim Berhad. So any kind of standards is being checked or being tested by Sirim. And then baru Sirim bagi chop, baru Department of Standards akan bagi kelulusan untuk diperniagakan di Malaysia. Okay. Alright, and then the first standards that that has been known to be recorded, I'm not sure zaman-zaman Greek, zaman-zaman Melaka, Kesultanan Melayu Melaka dulu dah ada ke standards ni. We are not sure because tak ada document. Bukan maksudnya tak ada, tapi tak ada documentation yang proof. So the most known document that has been, the standard that has been documented is the British Standards Institution standard, which is the BS 7750, which is in 1992. I think before that pun ada dah sebenarnya, tapi for the sake of discussion in terms of energy efficiency, it is the earliest recorded document was British Standard Institution. Okay, saya terpaksa tak ada break sebab nak kejar satu lagi kelas, orang dah habis TCO2. Lecturer Encik Azri tu laju pula buat, so okay, saya pun try kejar lah sebab nanti kan kelas lain, kelas satu lagi orang keluar kabut pula, tak sama. So this is the first ever standard for environmental, bukan energy efficiency, lebih kepada environmental management system. Sebelum ni tak ada any kind of environmental impact sebab time tu belum ada Kyoto punya perjumpaan lagi. Siapa yang macam Aiman Rashid dan Wong sangat interested dengan saya rasa semua orang kenal kan Aiman Rashid dan Wong, yang tahu any kind of world punya event, akan tahulah perjumpaan Kyoto tu untuk handle environmental issues ni. So from that environmental meeting tu lahirlah environmental management system, which is the first recorded was British Standard Institution BS 7750. And then after that, to audit to make sure that the BS 7750 has been followed and has been adhered to, there's this eco management and audit scheme being produced to make sure the BS to enforce the BS 7750, which is to audit and basically it's a voluntary initiative to improve company environmental performance. So it is initially established by European regulation. Apa semua ni tak adalah tanya sangat insyaAllah, tapi just nak korang tahu, kita start dengan BS 7750 And then untuk audit 7750 tu ada emas. Kita ni Europe yang buat, so jangan panggil emas I think Europe will call this emas or something like that. EMAS, I'm not sure. But it is established in 2001, but then it was superseded by ISO 14001, and then making it the internationally recognized single EMS standard. So first BS 7750 to make sure 7750 tu betul di follow EMAS, and then to make sure because of dah ada standard ISO, so dia orang adopt EMAS tu kepada ISO 14001, and then from then on internationally accepted lah for auditing scheme untuk BS 7750 ni. Okay, and then we look into ISO 14001. It is a standard developed by the International Organization for Standardization, which is a whole world body punya standard, in 2004 to address environmental management system. So after ISO 14001 dah widely accepted, BS 7750 pun withdrawn, and then making it the main environmental management systems in the whole world lah, being accepted. So to make sure, since it is accepted in the whole world, so a few countries have started to adopt it, and the most foremost, I'm not sure when is this, but recorded back here, when it is recorded here, China was leading because they have become the world manufacturer, so they need to show that barang China bukan murah punya. So they show that they endeavor to get the ISO 14001. So that show, and then it reflected on their application or successful application on which they are leading compared to Japan. And then the third country is Spain. So there's no Malaysia here not because we are I mean, this information most probably is back in 2008, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not the one who prepares this slide, but I would assume this is somewhere before, because if I recall correctly, back in 2012-13, ISO standard, even UITM got ISO standards. So we as a nation has already started to look into it. But back then, China was leading because they want to become the manufacturer of the world, and then Japan, and then Spain, Italy, UK, and whatnot. So as you can see, even though USA keep on pitching that they are the world leader and whatnot, they are actually tak standard mana pun. 5462 je dia punya level of standard. Not to say that kalau ada ISO 14001 ni negara tu bagus. No, it's just the endeavor lah country tu. Sebab ni ingat this is mana? Voluntary initiative. Tak ada siapa paksa. Tapi kalau nak tarik klien, taruhlah ISO level ni, standard ni dekat korang punya batch. So nampak macam korang ni buat kerja bagus lah. Proper lah maksudnya. Dah ada orang audit. Let's say lah for example, korang nak buat custom baju. Korang nak hantar kedai yang korang dah tahu ada, let's say lah for example, you guys have been moving to a new place. Nak buat baju raya. Nak hantar kedai sebarang-sebarang ke, dah last minute ni, mesti nak cari kedai yang orang iktiraf. Maksudnya pergi tanya jiran, kat mana kedai nak buat baju senang, cantik, kedai ni. Kita pun try lah kedai tu. Tak adalah kita nak membabi buta masuk mana-mana kedai kan. The same thing goes here lah. Not to say ISO 14001 ni maksudnya kedai tu bagus ke apa. No. Tapi it has been audited, and auditor kata, okay, dia ni follow standard. Of course kita rasa selamat lah nak hantar kita punya design or any kind of a process yang kita nak buat to a company that has been established by ISO, has been authorized by ISO, audited by ISO, saying that they have followed the standards. Okay, the same thing goes for China lah. Not to say US tak bagus, it's just that I think European countries, dia tak heran sangat sebab orang tahu quality barang ni memang dah bagus. Orang dah tahu dah. Macam China, back in 90s and 2000, early 2000, we associate China punya barang dengan low quality. So they endeavor lah to get ISO 14001. Whereby Japan pula, dia orang ni memang jenis kalau dah buat memang buat betul-betul. Not to say sebab dia orang tarik klien sangat sebab orang tahu barang Jepun memang dah bagus. Tapi dia memang jenis completionist, perfectionist. Kalau main game tu, level 1 tu habis semua dia bunuh. Baru dia pergi level 2. Tu Japan lah tu. Siapa yang main game lah. Okay, and then management standards. Tadi pasal environment. Now kita bercakap pasal international energy management standards. So each country mostly yang manufacturing ni selalunya ada their own national energy management standards. EU especially dia orang suka come up with standards sebab dia orang suka kerja yang teratur. So they publish their own standard which is for energy management which is EN16001. Tadi kita bincang nama pelik-pelik tadi tu BS apa semua tu lebih kepada environmental tau. That's the first relation yang kita ada dengan energy management. So bila dah establish BS 7750 then ISO 14001 tadi saya pun tak hafal. EMAS and then baru ISO 14001 and then baru kita start address energy management. And the first standard that has been published is from EU, which is EN16001. Basically, it is work in between 2008 2011, and then it is being adopted, assisted by United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Apa benda semua ni, baca je. Nanti ada time exam, benda-benda ni lah yang akan tanya standard-standard ni. Baru korang nak hafal lah. Hafal, biasalah students kan. Hafal sekarang, tahu sekarang doesn't mean korang boleh jawab soalan nanti. Dah nak test nanti baru baca kan. So ni saya highlight lah ni. Make sure korang put primary focus on standard. Okay, and then EN16001 is EU's punya collection of best practices. Not to say it is the perfect practice, but they have found out based on their experience, the best practice is by they're recorded in EN16001 untuk operate mesin-mesin orang. So basically, the key benefit of EN16001 ni is to reduce cost. Maksudnya kalau nak buka aircon jangan buka 24 hours. Contohnya lah buka time maybe sejam sebelum orang start masuk. So that they boleh start cool down everything to the comfort level. But time malam maybe lepas pukul 12 off everything. So boleh reduce cost. Reduce GHG emissions of course sebab bila kita kurangkan emission carbon, kuranglah GHG in the atmosphere. And then paling critical sekali sebenarnya, even though nampak macam remeh, tapi dia dah the first standard yang recordkan top management punya komitmen. Ini penting sebab first, kalau top management tak support, asyik fikir nak jual sahaja, memang tak achieve lah reduce cost and emissions ni. So diorang kena tahu and kena enforcekan and kena make sure everyone tahu yang top management pun nak benda ni. And then kalau dia jenis yang flip-flop memang ada pun employer yang suka flip-flop ni. Hari ni kata ni, hari esok kata ni. So kat sini dia recordkan top management punya commitment that they say that they want to commit to this. So that's the key point EN16001 in the first legend lah orang kata in standards. Sebab dia recordkan top management punya commitment. Dia dapatkan and dia recordkan. Okay, again, creature of comfort saya dah cakap pasal Melayu balik. Okay, and then we started the ISO 14001 and EN16001 started to evolve into ISO 5001. 5001. Saya tak tahu nak sebut better macam mana, but I think 5001 is suited lah. So ISO 5001, which was launched in June 2011, and basically it covers a broad application to potentially reduce 60% of the world energy use. So it covers scope, normative reference and whatnot lah. Ni semua ada dalam dia punya syllabus. Bukan syllabus lah, dalam dia punya file tu. So at the final end, at 2011, ISO 50001. So they cover almost everything from energy policy being established, planning, implement, and then continuous checking for the whole continuous lah, basically for the whole continuous process continuously every single year. So ISO 511 ada punya evolution. So when we compared ISO 5000, okay, and then ada EMAS, tapi EMAS ni dia tak mention. I think the slide has been thrown out. Basically EMAS ni is the Asian punya energy management system lah, energy management standard from ASEAN. So ISO 55001 ni dia punya blueprint. Dia punya blueprint. So and then ASEAN get together and come up that okay, we also want a piece of this pie. We want to be able to save our costs, so we come up with our own standard. We get together and come up with our own standard, and based on ISO 55001, we improved the standards. So by introducing the same thing, corporate energy policy and energy management system being in place, and then we improve it by having training and certification for energy manager. Make sure everyone is motivated to do it. There are steps to do this, nanti kita akan tengok. And then kita include budget management, and then demonstrate how to spend those budget, and then how to measure the performance and improvement. So nampak, ini yang AMAS ni is more comprehensive, whereby kalau ISO 50001 ni, they just mention, okay, ada energy policy, ada energy management, macam mana nak buat lah, macam yang cakap ni. Sorry. Tapi AMAS, not only on the human and machine capital, but also on the financial side, and also continuous effort. So AMAS almost covered. AMAS is almost perfect lah, and in fact we will be belajar pasal AMAS lah after this. And in fact kalau if you guys pursue energy management punya license, you will fall under AMAS, not ISO 50001, because Malaysia is part of Asian, and Malaysia also adopted AMAS punya certification. Okay, so this is typically kalau if korang buat documentation on ISO 50001, inilah sub topik yang kena ada dalam dia punya requirements dia, yang kena adhere and record, everything kena ada dalam bawah-bawah ni kena ada. Sebenarnya ayat-ayat je untuk dokumen tu, tapi it's a proof that your company take this standard into consideration and take it seriously. So to the fact that korang record kan dalam korang punya management, if let's say ada audit, kami comply. Tapi ini untuk ISO 50001 lah. When you are talking in Malaysia, typically AMAS lah. So and then Euro nampak Euro pun sama, dia nampak juga ISO 50001 tu. So they also improve their own 16001 ni, 16001. They improve it in 2009. And they also include lah, they ambil the blueprint from ISO 50001, and then the same thing as you can see here, they ambil general requirements, they ambil energy policy, planning pun dia ambil, implementation and operation dia ambil, checking performance pun ada, and review pun ada. So they didn't come up with something new, but they improve on their EN 16001. Okay. So merepek tapi itulah standard ni macam saya dah warn awal-awal tadi, is a bit boring, but it is something yang akan keluar your test one, so you should know lah. So compared to ISO 50001 and EN 16001, kita punya lagi overzealous lah. So kita lagi extreme lah. Orang ASEAN ni akan jadi lebih ikut buku lagi. So kita pun lagi detail, AMAS, tambahlah motivation and then financial aspect, whereby for ISO 50001 and EN 16001, Europe dengan full standard, tak sentuh benda ni. So kita sentuh and then kita letak accordingly kita punya ni lah, our own sub-chapters. Kita susun di balik dokumen tu. Nothing much, tapi I would say benda ni hanya applicable untuk jawab test lah. Untuk korang punya mini project later on, korang hanya boleh, saya rasa kalau korang nak pakai pun nak kuatkan justification why your client would choose your proposal as compared to your friend's proposal. So if korang boleh elaborate, boleh tambah maklumat sendiri dalam korang punya projek tu. Nah, iyalah. Okay, so again, ni semua standards. Now we look into, tadi mula-mula kita belajar pasal environmental standards, and then yang ISO 50001 dengan yang kita bincang-bincang EMA semua ni is on energy management standards. Now we look into design standard. Design standard ni is basically on to get the efficient building untuk dapat pengiktirafan bangunan kita is energy efficient. So there is this Malaysian standard MS1525 to address the code of practice on the use of renewable energy and energy efficiency in non-residential buildings. So untuk rumah kita tak ada standard masuk bukan tak ada standard. I mean there are some standard but not as critical as bangunan kilang for example, because diorang punya energy consumption can become kilowatt, whereby kita megawatt. Kita kat rumah paling tinggi kita boleh capai pun kilowatt lah kot. Kilowatt, ratus-ratus kilowatt. Whereby diorang mega, beribu-ribu, berpuluh ribu boleh. So it covers the air condition and air condition, mechanical, and V is ventilation if I'm not mistaken. So all the cooling system semua dalam ni. Lighting, management control, architectural and passive design. Passive design ni yang saya cakap tadi, yang bangunan green technology tadi tu. Dengan cara passive design dia dapat natural lighting, tak perlu on switch pun. Dia boleh dapat natural light. Siang tu dia hanya gunakan untuk charge dia punya solar energy saja. Malam baru dia on automatically lampu-lampu tu. Siang tak ada on, satu lampu tak on. So everything being illuminated naturally. And then it also covers electrical power and distribution. So bila bercakap pasal energy efficiency, of course when we're talking about building, we're talking about electricity lah. So sebab tu saya lecturer electric engineering yang cerita kat awak benda-benda ni, bukan lecturer business. Okay, and then design standards MS 1525, basically the punya keyword here is for untuk that kind of building to maximize natural lighting and ventilation. To comply with Malaysian standard MS 1525 Akta 2007. Sorry. And then to use renewable energy, and then targeted BEI is Building Energy Index. BEI, Building Energy Index, maknanya building tu punya energy consumption less than 150 kilowatt hours per meter squared per year. So everything is being measured per area when you're talking about design. Bukan kilowatt hour saja, tapi kilowatt power, ruang yang kita cover, dan juga time kita cover. Nothing much here, tapi kalau soalan tanya boleh tanyalah benda ni. So nombor-nombor ni apa ni just tahulah dulu for now. Okay, and then testing standard kita tak cover. Ni pun tak, sebab ni lebih kepada yang energy management punya courses tu. Kita just nak cover yang sikit-sikit je. And then we look into energy labeling. Ni yang korang akan tengok. Saya advise korang tengok. Let's say lah korang dah kahwin nanti, nak beli fridge sendiri, nak duduk rumah sendiri. Focus this thing. This can help you save your monthly bill. So what is labeling? Labeling implements a national symbol of energy efficiency. It creates awareness. So dulu zaman 2000 something lah, saya tak ingat. Ada pernah keluar iklan kat TV pasal label-label ni. But nowadays I don't think so. And nowadays pula kita dah shifted toward Netflix dengan Astro. Astro most probably ada lagi laku iklan-iklan. Tapi siapa yang macam saya ni dah tak ada Astro, memang harapkan Netflix, Disney Hotstar and YouTube. Memang dah tak nampak dah iklan-iklan ni. So back then memang nampak lah iklan waktu siapa yang guna Astro tu boleh still lagi nampak iklan-iklan label tu, rasanya lah, tak tahulah sekarang. And the last time was back then lah I nampak iklan-iklan ni. But it create awareness, and this labeling allow you to encourage you to buy from those yang use their energy efficiently. To to promote the use of energy efficiency product lah. Bukan untuk diorang juga lebih kepada untuk awak. Sebab bila awak pakai energy efficient barang yang di-indicated by labeling ni, you'll get the most out of your money. Maksudnya, kalau awak beli fridge, kalau awak beli yang 5 star punya energy, bil elektrik awak murah, tapi barang awak still sejuk sama macam yang zaman-zaman dulu. In fact, lagi sejuk daripada fridge zaman dulu. Kalau awak beli yang maybe 3 stars, same thing, awak dapat sejuk juga, tapi bil elektrik awak sikit lah. Itu je. Of course, kalau tak ada aircon, benda ni tak relevan sangat lah. Maksudnya, maybe awak punya bil api dalam RM20-30 je. Tapi once ada aircon, tu main peranan penting lah. Bila kita nak pakai, untuk tahu labeling-labeling ni. Okay, and then, okay. This is in case korang one day ada rezeki murah, mak bapak kaya ke, anak Datuk Vincent Tan ke apa ke, Tan Sri Vincent Tan saya tengok. Boleh buka kilang korang sendiri. Ni special topik untuk korang lah. So for those who intend to have their own business, to produce your own product in a factory, it is important for you to know the efficiency of a motor, because the most energy consumption being used in a factory typically will be motor. So motor yang dia ada label EFF1 will be the most high efficient motor, meaning korang will get the best output, tapi energy yang korang bayar, bil api yang korang bayar tu lagi murah. Of course, time nak beli tu mahal lah. This high EFF1 punya motor will be the most expensive, tapi in the long run, your capital gain tu lagi lebih daripada EFF3. In fact, standard motor EFF3 ni typically by second year, third year tu memang maintenance mahal lah. Whereby high efficiency motor ni typically will last longer, save you more bills, but monthly bill, electricity bill, but mahal lah mula-mula nak beli. And then this is an example of label for industrial motors. Typically, it will be produced by Suruhanjaya Tenaga and all the signatures of those yang audit lah. Okay, saya labeling for industrial motors. Ni tak ada apa, just nak cerita yang industry in all the manufacturing sekarang dah start involve and implement EFF1 motor. In fact, this is only 2005, but even back then, kilang dah start banyak pakai lah. Sebelum ni pakai EFF3, EFF2. So, bila asyik rosak je, dia pun makin lama makin orang tak minat nak pakai. Tapi disebabkan EFF1 mahal sangat, so dia nak improve pun dia pakai lah EFF2. Sebab EFF2 kata, dia improve the efficiency, not to the extent of high efficiency, tapi improve. So, you still save some some electricity bill, but at the very least, you don't have to pay significant in capital. But back in 2005, as you can see, it start increases. I don't know why this slide doesn't update, but I guess it's because this slide does not belong to us, so we don't have that data lah. This is basically, I would think this data is coming from EMAS, from Green Technology Malaysia. So this is typically the label that you need to be aware of bila korang ada rumah sendiri nanti. Yang gambar ada bintang-bintang. Lagi banyak bintang, lagi jimat tenaga. Dia punya tagline dia. So for me, I don't look at the bintang sangat sebab saya electrical engineer. Saya faham apa maksud kilowatt joule. So I would try to look for some a lower number of energy consumption lah. Ni per year So kalau dia letak sebelah tu dia iklankan this fridge canggih macam-macam, tapi size capacity sama dengan yang sebelah dia, and yang sebelah dia tu nombor energy consumption dia lagi kecil daripada yang canggih macam-macam tu, I would choose this one, the one that has the lower number. I mean all the fancy gadget, TV, fridge tu ada apa nama, tab lah, apalah, boleh tengok. Tu tak penting on daily life. On daily life, I think it's more important on your electricity bill. Because ultimately, your fridge is to just cool your foods, not to be per mesin internet. So, if I want mesin internet, I would have a better computer lah daripada yang dia installkan dekat fridge. So, again, be smart. look at the numbers. For me, as an electrical engineer, look at the numbers, not look at the bintang ni bagus lah. Bintang ni at the very least is the basic punya karakteristik orang nak tengok sebelum beli fridge atau any kind of equipment. But look at the numbers consumption tu. Jangan mudah ditipu ahli politik. Tengok numbers, tengok data. Okay, so dia basically rating dia only 1 to 5. So macam ni ada 5. So memang ni paling jimat lah kot. I think for this thing, I'm not sure this is for what. This is... It doesn't say what this label is for, but I would assume... Oh yeah, cool fridge. Ni, cool fridge berhad. Peti sejuk. Sorry, saya tak nampak. Okay, so... apa lagi nak cakap? You can see this label not only on fridge, you can see it on TV, on computer, on iron board tu. Apa lagi ya? Kalau beli air humidity ke apa, adalah kot. Anything yang house appliances, typically you will be able to see this. So the number yang you saw at the bottom tu yang paling penting bagi saya. Of course the stars is the first thing I will check. Ada tak star, berapa banyak star. Sebab ni being audited bukannya, maksudnya kalau macam saya cakap pasal baju raya tadi tu, dah di vouch oleh jiran sebelah. Jiran sebelah dah try. And then ada jiran sebelah pula dah audit pula, dah bagi pula nombor. So lagilah saya suka. Saya akan pilih yang ada nombor lagi rendah lah. Okay. So yang labeling ni isn't your syllabus. So tak payah, jangan goyang tengok apa benda-benda ni. Ini tak kena dengan korang. So tak perlu takut. Okay, and then kita masuk the best practices. Banyak juga slide ni. Oh tak, sikit sebenarnya. Okay, kita dah habis lah So what are the best practice? Basically is the best practice is the best way of working. We learn from experience and successful stories of other countries and organization. I mean, kita kat Malaysia ni typically we aren't, kita bukanlah pioneer. Jarang lah kita ada barang pioneering. Basically kita ambil experience banyak daripada Jepun, US, UK, whatever lah. Siapa yang nak pernah jalan, especially US lah kot. US and UK, because they like to be at the forefront, and Japan, they like to be at the forefront. So any kind of new technology ke, any kind of new adoption of standards, typically they would be the one who produce. Not because diorang lagi bagus, tak. Diorang lagi redneck lah. Diorang lebih redneck lah. Maksudnya diorang lebih suka terjun dulu. Kita lambat sikit. Not to say because kita tak bagus, kita tak berani. No. Basically because kita capital lah. Everything is about duit. Nak adopt new things. Berapa ramai yang kat sini ada duit nak buka kilang. Nak keluarkan barang baru yang orang tak pernah pakai. Mana ada. Selalu kita akan buat pelan-pelan dulu. So, itulah. Bukan maksudnya kita tak bagus. Our support system isn't as matured as UK, US, Japan and whatnot because they have their environment. In fact, kalau siapa yang ada tahu cerita pasal Grab. Grab was born in Malaysia. Of course by Chinese, Malaysian Chinese. Tapi nowadays, Grab is being recognized in the whole world as a Singaporean company, not Malaysian company. So I went out of my way to find out why. It turns out back in 2000, zaman Najib dulu lah, zaman PM Najib kita dulu, bekas PM kita, dia bukan sebab PM tak apa, bukan sebab time tu government tak buat kerja, government buat kerja, trust me, dia banyak seed capital dia dah tolong back Grab. Tapi at the end, Grab still pergi ke Singapore. Bukan sebab dia orang jahat apa tak, because Singapore ramai orang kaya. They can invest. Kalau we cakap pasal angel investor when your business, I think you guys should know better lah. Bila korang dah ada startup, to keep bayar gaji pekerja lah, operation and whatnot, you have to have a steady income. Sementara company tu nak start yield dia punya untung kan. Betulkan saya betulkan saya kalau saya salah saya electrical engineer, bukan business. If I understand correctly, given certain year, they have to have capital from outside, angel investor ke whatever ke, to keep on churning profit lah after maybe 10 years or 20 years down the road. And it has been proven nowadays Grab memang dah start, I think, I don't know lah, for business who know better, I guess. I think Grab has started to become a profitable company lah compared to back then. So back then Grab nak minta dana, nak minta duit, memang kat Malaysia ni tak ramai sangat, except for government bodies lah, macam penjana and whatnot. Tu is the only way for them to get their money, seed capital. Whereby, kalau dia orang pergi Singapore, macam-macam angel investors ada. Baik daripada US, UK pun ada juga buka branch dekat Singapore. So senang dia orang dapat capital, injection capital untuk dia orang operate and seterusnya maju. So that is the reason why Grab pergi Singapore. Yang siapa yang kata pasal politik, apa hanky-panky semua tu, tu tolak tepi lah. We are talking about ideal case lah ni. Grab tak pasal-pasal jadi Grab and few others lah, tak pasal-pasal jadi Singaporean company. Padahal they are born and bred and grown by Malaysia. In fact, Malaysian government. Tapi of course, after a certain period, they have to grow, and we as a country are unable to retain them, to keep on, to let them grow here. So anak dia kena pergi Singapore lah. Rugi, ya betul rugi. Tapi at the very least, kita tak halang lah. For me, it's a good thing. Okay, and the same thing goes to you guys lah. If one day korang ada startup and kalau rasa nationalistic tu tinggi tu, baguslah, alhamdulillah. Tapi selalunya bila dah ada startup ni, dia dah anggap macam anak sendiri kan, startup tu. So dia nak anak ni membesar, dia tak nak anak dia terbantut. So typically they will also go to Singapore lah. Okay, and then the Japanese experience, ni nothing much. Apa yang dia nak cakap is that dia involve not only the Japan experience shows that through active participation of government, introducing policy and law, regulation and whatnot. And then dia punya industrial association participate, private company voluntary take the initiative, and also the market, the activities in the market menyebabkan orang berjaya sampai ke B ni lah, which is sampai ke B lah, berjaya lah. Maksudnya government introduce incentive, energy management system and also auditing, and industrial association, maksudnya certain manufacturer punya association tu pun involvekan juga dia punya top management, middle management, and everyone lah dalam the whole organisation, menyebabkan aktiviti tu berjaya lah. So this is what being shown here. So based on that energy efficient adoption in Japan, it shows that dia punya energy consumption reduce sebanyak 30%. In 73 up to 83, energy consumption based on oil drop sampai ke level, I'm not sure was this 10 oil equivalent GDP lah. GDP ni government gross domestic product produce, saya tak sure. Ekonomis saya bukan ekonomis, tapi GDP ni selalunya is the key parameter yang orang measure in terms of energy efficiency of a country, and it shows it has been reduced 30% from 73 to 83, and then it continues to further improve in 1990s up until 2005, lagi rendah lagi. So nowadays I would expect lagi rendah lah, sebab dia orang lagi bagus kalau pergi ke Jepun tu. In fact, saya pergi South Korea for my honeymoon back in 2011, I think. Jeju Island. Ada satu kawasan tu memang penuh dengan wind turbine. I rode a scooter back then dengan my wife. I tried to go there to get into the wind turbine punya place tu, but I can't find the road. So I ended up ambil gambar daripada luar je lah, daripada jauh je lah. Tapi memang cantik lah kawasan tu. Jeju Island, if you have the chance, or siapa yang dah pernah pergi would agree with me, it's a very different, because when I was for my honeymoon, I went there for the whole week. Sorry, not Jeju only, the whole South Korea Seoul dengan Jeju tu, saya spend one whole week. 4 hari kat Seoul, 3 hari kat Jeju. Totally apa, night and day lah dia punya difference. So for those who had a chance, bolehlah aku pergi Jeju tu, bagi saya cantik lah. And dengan adanya wind turbine tu, it creates the scenery much more, I think, magical. So being energy efficient doesn't mean you have to be kotor. Bila bercakap pasal energy efficient ni, saya rasa ramai yang terbayangkan mesin kotor-kotor tu duk repair-repair semua, tak ada. It can be Jeju. It can be as beautiful as a place as a Jeju punya ni, island. Trust me. Okay, so go next slide, which is then Korean experience. Like I said, Korea pun ambil experience, ambil initiative juga, and that's why you can see the wind turbine there on their Jeju Island. So the thing that you have to understand with Korea, ada different dengan Jepun. Korea waktu at the end of World War II, even Vietnam pun 1970s pun, dia orang sangat, dia orang lagi mundur daripada kita tau, Korea back in 1970. Main bola kalah dengan kita, ekonomi pun kalah dengan kita, tapi nowadays Korean dah sama level dah dengan, even saya rasa lebih tinggi daripada Singapore, dia punya economic growth. So what happened is they don't have the money, they don't have the expertise because of war apa semua tu. So what they did is smarter. That means instead of government supply the capital for the instead of masukkan government, instead of the private sector keluarkan duit sendiri untuk adopt energy efficiency, what they did was they work together with ESCO, Energy Saving Company lah, ESCO, Energy Saving Company. So what they did was energy saving company akan keluarkan capital. Let's say for example nak pasang solar panel, you have to buy 500,000. UiTM Terengganu pun beli, tak silap saya, 500,000 kot. The whole equipment nak pasang solar tu. Dalam 500,000 atau suku juta, saya tak sure lah. Kena tanya orang yang in charge. I did involve back then, but after UiTM holding take over, dah tak tahu apa-apa dah. But if I'm not mistaken, I was told it was 500,000. So bayangkan Korea punya ni. So instead of you come up with on your own money, macam Jepun buat, keluarkan 500,000 untuk beli solar panel tu, Korean buat lain. Company yang provide solar panel tu yang keluarkan duit, dia dulukan duit dia, pasangan dulu siap-siap, make sure everything up and running. So what the company does is even though dah pasang, dah siap, dah ada energy saving, yang company tu still bayar 100% punya bill electricity for a period, for a certain period, contract phase lah dia panggil. Dia ada agreement berapa tahun. So yang company tu dia still bayar macam biasa bulan-bulan, even though dah ada saving. Tapi cukup lah, for example maybe 5-6 tahun. Dia dah realize dia punya capital plus untung. Then baru yang saving yang dia realize disebabkan oleh solar panel punya installment tu, baru dia boleh dapat profit balik. Maksudnya baru dia bayar kurang lah bil api dia after 10 years. This is what 3 to 5 years, sorry. This is what Korea did. So I bet the wind turbine yang saya nampak kat Jeju Island tu, the same thing goes here. Maksudnya orang, if you went Jeju, you won't be seeing a building taller than macam KLCC lah. Memang bangunan biasa. Kalau compare dengan Seoul, memang nampak kampung lah Jeju. So I don't think they have the money to pasang wind turbine besar-besar macam tu. No. So what they did was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, do research on your own. They contact the company and the company pasangkan untuk diorang. And then any kind of energy saving yang dia produce, government akan bayar kat diorang. Tapi after a few years, baru they realize dia punya profit. So the same thing goes there, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I don't know everything. I think this is based on reported here lah. So the source here, if you want to look at, is in Chemco. I think Korean Energy Management CO, I'm not sure. Tapi Korean punya ni lah, data. Okay, and then we look into the Asian experience. So for the ASEAN, if I'm not mistaken, tak termasuk Australia, if I'm not mistaken. Double check on me because Australia masuk juga. double check me on that. But supposedly ASEAN, Australia pun ada juga. So basically ASEAN, kita as a whole region provide our own energy award, which we introduced in 2001. So it is a cooperation between Asian Energy Network to promote best practice. So of course there is some reward on it. And it categorizes into new and existing building. Basically, this is about building, new and existing building, tropical building, retrofitted building, and special submission. Special submission inilah yang, if I'm not mistaken, one of the Malaysian dapat juga. Take a, so let me double check. Tak nampak lah. Selalu special submission ni dia building ni cantik, pelik sikit. Is this it? Sutra Harbour Resort? I don't think so. Ada saya pernah nampak tapi tak apalah, nanti saya double check kalau saya ingat. But basically these are the building that has been awarded as of 2005. And the latest one in our recorded ni in Malaysia is Green Tech lah. Green Tech building where mula-mula new energy, low energy, tapi kita zero terus. Yang Green Tech building tu memang zero terus. Maksudnya langsung tak ada pakai, sebab tu saya cakap tak ada jumpa Swiss pun. Saya try cari Swiss. Waktu mula-mula saya sampai nak ambil exam kat sini, saya yalah masuk bilik kan. Biasalah kita dah terbiasa kat rumah. Masuk bilik tekan Swiss. Saya masuk exam hall tu, saya cari Swiss tak jumpa. Pusing sana pusing sini, memang tak jumpa. Tak ada Swiss. So punyalah canggih dia punya design itu. Bagi saya kagum. Okay, and then corporate experience, kita tengok kat 3M Energy Management Program. It has been established since 1973. 3M is a big company. For those yang ada chance pelongan 3M, I think you would be able to travel the whole world sebab 3M ni almost everywhere dia punya office. So basically 3M punya company corporate, dia try to achieve control energy costs to improve operational efficiency, reduce environmental impact and whatnot and so forth. So baca sendiri lah. Nothing much, just to let you know. And then as a result of that, because they use equipment yang proper, efficient, and then they use renewable energy, they have been able to reduce their energy dependency because 3M the whole world ada dia punya company, so they advertise it as worldwide energy use lah, padahal office dia orang je. So it shows that from 2000 to 2008 it has reduced. I'm not sure how many here is that, but it seems significant. Nampak ketara dia punya trend penurunan dia tu. Okay, azan jap, give me dalam 5 minit ke break jap, semua azan habis. Okay, so kita continue. Sikit lagi, satu lagi dua slide je. So macam tadi saya continue 3M based on 3M up to 2008, 2008 because of their incorporation of energy efficiency measures by reusing energy efficient equipment and also renewable energy. They have been able to achieve this energy independencies quite significant. Okay. So this is where AMAS comes in. AMAS not only covers normal practice, which is a typical way of doing things, they also covers the standard being introduced by ISO 53001 and also covers the best practices and also the development, making sure that everything is being developed. So tu je lah kot untuk our session today yang group project individual papers briefing ni nanti sebab kita baru second week tiba-tiba nak group project kak kan ada yang marah kat saya nanti. So kita stop dulu. But typically again boring but I want you to focus more on the labeling and the difference between so to sum up lah basically you need to know to differentiate between energy conservation and energy efficiency. A simple understanding of the historic value of standards being introduced and where AMAS comes from, step by step, and then what does labeling mean, especially this one. So mottos, what EFF1 EFF1 means, and then other than that, more on the experience of Korea and Japan. Why Korea and Japan? Because in Asia, they are the most ahead of us in terms of energy management. And also they are the nearest to us. I mean, if we compare UK, US, Europe and whatnot, of course, there are tons of cases lah. But we are looking into ASEAN because we are an Asian country. So they are the best example lah. And then just so that to know that Malaysia has also started and also achieved recognition for our effort in that endeavor. Cuma itulah semenjak PRU 2018 hari tu yang UMNO jatuh tu, PH naik. I'm not sure how or the direction of green energy ni sekarang because tak sampai setahun dah orang lain, tak sampai setahun dah orang lain. So I can't safely say the direction yet, but at the very least we have started. But whether we are growing in that sense, I can't be sure. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, yang macam contoh Korean experience ni, yang mana ESCO invest, maksudnya energy supplier, energy efficiency punya supply tu yang provide the capital, kita pun ada adopt juga, especially for UiTM, kita buat macam tu, UiTM Terengganu. Cuma tak silap saya, last saya tahu 2018, that scheme dah tak ada. So I'm not sure whether it is still the same, whether it's not continued or not, but at the very least, we have the mechanism there. So because I still got email inviting me back to the energy efficiency punya activities, but other than that, I haven't heard that much lah on adoption or growth of energy management activities in Malaysia. But yalah, if let's say lah one day hopefully korang punya own kilang produce macam Carol Laming kan, saya rasa dalam 2-3 tahun ni adalah kot dia buka kilang tu. Sebab dia jual sambal nyet dia tu tak sampai 10 minit dah settle semua kan. Imagine kalau dia boleh provide boleh jual consistently produce that. I would think dalam 2-3 tahun dia akan ada kilang sendiri lah. And if dia continuously be able to generate that kind of traction, I think it's a good benefit lah if dia tahu pasal energy management. I'm not saying he should know, but at the very least korang pun tahulah yang pasal benda ni, so that in case one day korang pun ada produk korang sendiri yang boleh level rival dengan ataupun lebih kurang sama level dengan Karamen tu, and boleh buka kilang hopefully in the near future. It's a good thing that korang tahu semua ni, sebab macam saya cakap tadi, company 3M ni, 3M ini is in million British ton, over $1 million US dollars, bukan RM, US dollars. Nampak macam tak adalah ketara sangat turun ni, tapi ini is in million. 1,000, I would assume this is around 1,800 million tanpa $1 million. Dapat kurangkan banyak ni. Bayangkan, ini $1 US kalau convert RM berapa? Bayangkan berapa banyak gaji orang korang boleh bayar ni. Ataupun korang boleh pergi holiday ke, korang boleh beli kereta ke, beli jet ke. Banyak ni. So, sekarang ni nampak remeh sebab korang tak ada company sendiri. Maybe tak ada kilang sendiri. But I think if we had a chance, one day korang ada chance untuk ada kilang, I think this is a good knowledge. Okay, so that is all untuk saya hari ini. Ada any question that you want to ask me? Again, saya dah tercakap Melayu banyak dah. Sorry, maafkan. Any questions so far?